Welcome, everybody, to Heroes Rising. My gosh, what a great lineup I have for you guys today. Not only do I have an amazing co-host, but we have Rick and we have Eric, two amazing coaches who definitely will be bringing some amazing content for you guys. Guys, just say a quick hello to everybody, and then we'll
quick
get started.
Quick hello.
Hello, everybody.
Well, I told you, EA is way too funny. EA, tell me, where did all this humor come from?
Well, it started many years ago.
Okay, you ready? Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a long story.
Yeah. And usually, I'm one of the people where they say, can you make, let me make a long story short. I actually say the opposite. Let me make a short story long. And and then from that, and as they start to nod off, actually the humor came from many years ago when I said something that I thought was funny and no one in the room laughed. And I swore from that time onward, there would at least be one person laughing, even if it was just me. And so from that, I got my head around, it's okay to have people laugh at you or at me too. So I go with me, at me, I'm okay. Put a smile on their face. Let's be lazy and have an exceptional day.
Well, you know what? Somehow you have made more than one person smile. So I appreciate that. I think that every time we've had one of these events, I get so much knowledge. Thank you guys for being here with us today. Let me introduce you to Eric. I had the pleasure of having Eric on my podcast, and my gosh, so much knowledge and refreshing, right? Eric has spent the past 20 years in the fitness industry as a coach, trainer, instructor. He's been pioneering his unique approach to training, client assessment, performance enhancement, and the most important, you guys have to know this is truly important, injury prevention. And we talked about that during our podcast. I hope you guys have a chance. By the way, his podcast is coming up next week. That's right. So Eric has been training so many people. He's been the consultant to the New York Islanders, Detroit Lions, Washington Redskins, Miami Dolphins, and here in New York, the Giants. Wow, Eric, I'm telling you, amazing stuff. And I know that today you're going to be talking to us about recovery and using readiness and dynamic programming. I always learn. And during my podcast, I was like, wow, I just enjoyed our conversation. Eric, please, my friend, take it away.
So that's a tough intro to follow up there. So, if you guys can set me up so I can share my screen, I can get rolling here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what you're going to get is a quick snippet from a course that I just launched called Principles of Program Design. And we teach this to strength coaches, personal trainers, physical therapists from around the world and teaching them about programming. And so with that, let me get this started here. I know we don't have a ton of time. This usually takes about an hour to go through, so I'm going to get the best of it in 15 minutes. So let's talk a little bit about an industry that is become an industry that wasn't an industry 5 years ago, and that's recovery, where we have entire recovery centers where we have things like these cryo tanks, and you have what are called Normatec boots or foam rolling or these massage guns that are in float tanks and all these different things to help with recovery. So the question is going to be not so much which is the best of those modalities, but more importantly, why do we even need all this recovery in the first place? So if we break down all these different recovery things into both active and passive categories, and there's a book here I'm going to recommend by Christina Schwanden, who's a science writer who went and evaluated and looked at the research behind all these and said which ones are good or bad or indifferent. You have more active things that you could do, like getting on a foam roller or actually going out and doing some movement, or more passive things. And when we look at this, there's things that are what we call the big rocks, that are the more imperative things that are going to make the biggest impact. And those things are going to be those top two on the passive. Number one is sleep. okay, is the #1 recovery tool. So I don't really care how good your massage gun is if you're not getting a good sound 8 hours of sleep. And then the second thing is nutrition and hydration. Same thing. Don't waste your money on cryo tanks if you're not eating the right thing or getting enough hydration, because all of that is going to be fruitless and you're literally just wasting money. So now let's go into, with all of these, the big question is, why do we even need all this recovery? And so what we have to look at is we're at a unique crossroads in my industry, in that we have this crossroads between people that are fragile, right? Especially post-pandemic, you have people that have been sitting at a dining room table as their workspace, and the only movement they get is to go up and get the DoorDash. And so those people are gradually decaying and they become very fragile. Now, at the same time, you also have a rise in things that weren't there 20 years ago when I started in this industry, with all these extreme challenges, whether it be CrossFit, whether you have people doing triathlons, or you're doing these obstacle course races and so forth. And so those people are still the same people that are sitting at their laptop at the dining room table, but they're going out and doing these extreme events. So they're ending up broken. Now, both of them end up walking either into my facility or into a physical therapy clinic with a sore shoulder or a sore back. And unfortunately, they get the same treatment. So we need to have some sort of system to diversify what we do about these things. Because if you were to ask me at a dinner party, hey, what can I do for my back? I need to know which category to put you in. I need to have some sort of system of filtration. So first thing we got to look at is something we call training costs. Everything we do has a cost, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like metabolic costs is how many calories you burn. If we're trying to lose weight, that's a great thing. But if you're trying to train a mixed martial artist that competes in a weight class, well, we may not want them to lose weight. So the next thing you look at is structural costs. So people say, well, I'm going to go out and start running to burn more calories. Well, if you have running form, or if you have poor ankle mobility, that's going to end up causing stress at your knees or your hips or your ankles and so forth. And so, yes, the calories you burn are great, but that's at a huge cost to your structure that now you're going to have a breakdown someplace else. Then you have the physiological costs, and realizing that we can't just go hard every single day, that there's an ebb and flow to training, that what we do is we stress and then we adapt and recover, and stress and adapt and recover. It can't be this just 100% no pain, no gain type of thing, because that's not how training works. That's not how our bodies work. Then there's the neurological cost. If you ever want to know what the neurological cost of something is, go drive home in the Northeast on a really snowy night. And then when you get home, you're absolutely exhausted and you feel like you just took a test. That's the neurological cost of things. So I have to factor that in when I'm training my athletes, but I also have to factor in what are the neurological costs of what you're expending throughout your day in any type of external stressors. Then you have those psychological costs that tie very closely to that. And that stress is stress. And we'll talk about that in a second, whether it's good stress or bad stress. And then chronological costs is how much time something takes. Am I going to go for a 60-minute walk, or am I going to go and do a 10-minute HIIT high intensity training type of workout? And the data shows that they may actually be the same in terms of calorie burning, but maybe you can't handle that structurally. So we have to match up this budget that we have for the day. And we'll talk about kind of how you know what that budget is based on your readiness. So now we have these 3 buckets. If we were to divide you into 3 main sections, we have our structural, which is our muscles, our joints, our bones. That's what I have the biggest direct impact on. And the biggest thing that affects our structure is movement. Whether you don't move, you'll have a body kind of built for sitting on a couch, or you move, it'll adapt to whatever those types of movements are, whether you practice yoga, whether you do weightlifting, whether you do running. Then you have your chemistry. That's the trillions of cells in our body that are changing over every single minute. And with that, the biggest impact we have on our chemistry is what we eat, the nutrients we take in. And then the mental, that's the thoughts and spirit that tie it all together. And that's impacted by the books we read, the TV we watch, the people we surround ourselves with. Now, all these buckets are interconnected, as you can see in my crude drawing here. And so with that, when you put stress in there, whether it's good stress, which is called eustress or hormetic stress, or you put bad stress, which is distress, either way, there's only so much this can handle. So if you're completely stressed out mentally and you're eating poorly and you're not sleeping, and then you go to do a really hard workout, there's just not enough room in the bucket and we're going to spill over. Now, there are some of those active things that you saw in the recovery thing that can take some of the stress out. So maybe doing anything from a cryo tank to foam rolling to doing some meditation may be able to take some stress out of those buckets. But really, my job as a coach is to manage those levels to make sure you don't overflow. Now, the life is happening, whether it's a professional athlete that I have, or it's my professional that's an accountant. I have to look at every day, how is life adapting, or how is life attaching it to you? And then how are you adapting to that? And that's all regulated by what's called your autonomic nervous system. Quick little science lesson. This autonomic nervous system is what regulates everything in our body. It's our heart rate, it's our blood pressure, it's our everything that's regulated. And there's two sides of it. There's your sympathetic, that fight or flight, which obviously makes all those things elevate. Then you have your parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, which brings all those things down. And we want to create this balance between yin and yang. And so the art of what I do in terms of creating a better human being, a better performing organism, is to try to rev that needle as high as I can without burning you out. And that's that Goldilocks principle, where it can't be too little, it can't be too much, it has to be just right. And that's about managing this nervous system. Now I'll talk in a minute how, even though it's called the autonomic nervous system, because it's always considered to be automatic, there's a hack into this that we can actually control. But the biggest key to recovery is don't overtrain in the first place. And unfortunately, people don't know how to manage not redlining themselves. And so let's talk about how we dynamically program someone. And so what I do is I do a daily readiness screen on everybody that comes in the door every single day. So I'm going to take you through the steps of what that looks at. And this is not just looking at how I would program a workout for you. This is a great check to kind of see where your status is in terms of your health and well-being on a daily basis. So what do we look at? We look at your movement. Gross movement. Can you touch your toes? Can you rotate right to left? Can you squat down? Can you reach back and extend? If you can't do these simple things, well, that gives me a little bit of a clue that there may be something going on in your movement that we need to address. And so these are some of the things I look at in terms of your movement. Then we look at your breathing. Now, remember I talked about your autonomic nervous system. Your breathing is something that's automatic. Nobody thought about their breathing until I just said this now. But if you change your breathing, whether you speed it up, whether you slow it down, whether you exaggerate the exhale versus the inhale, it'll affect that nervous system and ramp it up or drive it down. And there's a simple test we can look to see that gives us a little window, is to see if you're more sympathetically overdriven and redlining yourself, or if you're more in a parasympathetic state. And that's a simple breath hold test that we do. And if you can't hold your breath for at least 25 seconds or more, well, that tells me you're in a little bit of a sympathetic state. Or maybe you normally can do that, but today you're only holding it for 15. Now it opens up the window to questions to say, hey, what's going on? And they may say, well, I haven't a lousy night's sleep, or I'm stressed at work, or I'm dealing with some things going on at home. And now I know I need to adapt that program accordingly. Then we look at your grip. Your grip looks at things in a unique way, not just your hand strength. It is a window into what's going on into your shoulder and neck. And that almost every time we see a huge deficiency one side versus the other, I've almost always found some sort of neck or shoulder issue. It also looks at your nervous system in a little bit of a window into your readiness, as well as there's some really solid research that looks at correlations between grip and lifespan. So this is a pretty impactful thing because it's a window into how robust you are. Then there's lots of technology that's out there. There is what are called Oura rings, which measure your heart rate variability in sleep. The Morpheus looks at your heart rate variability. The Whoop strap, your Apple Watch, all these things are looking at all these health factors that we're looking at trends, right? And I wouldn't, wake up one morning and see a low score on my Whoop strap or Morpheus band and say, okay, I'm not leaving the house today because I have a low score. What I'm looking at is trends, and I'm looking at correlations to say, wow, I didn't realize that when I eat that lousy food or I have too many drinks, it affects my sleep. It affects my performance the next day. So this is a great awareness tool, and it's one piece of the whole puzzle. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick video right here. This is one of my professional pitchers that I work with. He's out with his team right now, but this is what it looks like. This is real time. This is what the first 2 minutes of every session looks at with me. Now, you don't have to be a professional baseball pitcher to benefit from this. What we look at is, I know what Justin's baselines are. And so with that, if something is off, where normally he can deep squat and today he can't, now we have to break it out a little bit further and see what may be going on. And we're just looking at first his movement, his gross movement, and to see is there any big deficiencies there. And that's going to change what exercises I may give him. It's going to change what I may want to add or take away from his warm-up. And so we look at all these different things, and based on that, we adjust accordingly. If everything is great, then we can go ahead as planned. If something is off, we stop and we adjust that right there. So you can see this whole thing takes all about 2 minutes. And you could do this at the start of your day to kind of get a gauge of where am I at today, or just check in once a week or every other week to kind of get a gauge of is this workout program working, or is it taking away from what I want to do? Okay, so let's look at what I would do if, let's say, he doesn't show what I expect to see on there. We may have things going on at a local level. Like let's say his ankle range of motion is a little bit off today. All right, that's a local issue. We're going to go and do some interventions to specifically improve his ankle mobility, and then we retest. And if it improves, then great, we can proceed as planned. He may have some regional stiffness. Maybe he was on a road trip and now all of a sudden his hips are stiff from that, or he's had an extended sitting where he was going and doing a bunch of interviews or something like that. And now his hips are stiff and we're going to have to adjust that accordingly, because maybe today I was going to have him deadlift or squat or something like that. We need to adjust that. Or it could be more of a global thing. This is an overall thing where he's stressed or fatigued and we just need to dial down the program. And so what happens is I kind of have three plans in my head when you walk in the door with me. Is I may have to red light something, meaning if this is a global problem, the workout we had planned, that's getting scrapped for today. We're just going to work on some mobility. We're going to work on some breathing. We're going to work on kind of resetting you somewhat. Then there could be a yellow light day where we may need to make some adjustments and go cautiously, but we can still proceed with the program. Or green light is the day that that's the day I'm going to push you. I'm going to try to challenge you a little bit more because you've showed me that you're ready for that. So I think I got an hour's worth done in 12 minutes. All right. So that gives us a little extra time, but there's some of my contact information up there, which I know they'll share as well. But the big thing, the take home that I want everybody to get out of this is don't so much run to whether it's the Advil, which is because none of you have an ibuprofen deficiency. I can tell you that. Don't just run to the massage gun or run to the cryo tank every single time, because if you're putting that massage gun in the same trigger point in your low back for weeks on end, that's not your solution. The question is, well, what are you doing that's creating that trigger point or fostering that trigger point the whole time? If you're constantly run down and your energy's down, trying to find the right energy drink or pre-workout is not your answer. The answer is to have better programming. And so with the programming, that may mean you need to know what days are the day to just go for a walk with your dog, or do some breathing, or do some meditation, because I need to ramp things down. Or today may be the day I need to challenge myself. Maybe today is the day I need to go grab a jump rope, or I may need to get on a bike and I may need to do a hard Peloton class, or I may need to just do some push-ups or something that's going to get my heart rate way up there, because that's the only way we're going to get more resilient and get stronger. And so knowing how to balance all those things, that's really what the essence of this is. So what I've hopefully given you is a little bit of a baseline that you can utilize and leverage, and so you know where to start and where to adjust on a day by day, because life happens.
That's great, Eric. You shared some great information with everyone. And for the viewers, we've placed multiple times Eric's contact information. And also one of the beautiful things about what Raphael sets up with these hero events is that you're able to see them on YouTube multiple times over. So I would suspect that Eric probably gave you about 3 hours worth of info. He did it in 15 minutes with speaking gusts up to 200 miles an hour. And and he did a great job. And one of the beautiful things now is now that you know the content, or at least the overview, you can go back and watch it a few times and take some notes and write down some of the great points that he made, because he covered a lot of information. And one of the things I liked about what Eric said is basically it's never one thing. If you notice, he finished off by saying, balance all these things, right? Balance these things. So it's not a one thing kind of thing. And everyone's always looking for the one thing fix, and there's no such thing. And I think Eric did just a superb job of downloading great information. Watch that part of the Heroes event here multiple times and write some notes on it, because he gave you a lot of information in a short period of time. All great stuff. Thank you, Eric.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Beyond Eric. Wow. Listen, anybody who is a personal trainer or even is thinking about becoming a personal trainer, you need to contact Eric. Eric, I'm just so happy that you were able to join us today. You have what I consider an elite level of conscious fitness in your brain. I mean, that is a developed, my gosh. You have a fitness brain is all I can say. It's amazing. And thank you for that. And anybody who, I would say, listen to it several times and slow it down, take some notes, because it was great stuff. And anybody has any questions, please put them in. because, you know, we can have Eric answer them for you if you want to as well. Let me introduce you to, oh my gosh, I am just, if I can tell you, I am just blessed to know amazing people. And that all happened because I took action, and to action is everything, right? My action was to create an amazing show, and I was able to connect with all these amazing individuals. And the next person I'm going to introduce you is EA. He also was on my show, and we just connected. Let me tell you about EA. He is not your cut-of-the-mill coach or mentor. He has had rooms of presidents of 50 companies, big presidents, pay him $5,000 each per weekend. And he did that over and over and over again. He did it for 2 years. Think about that. $250,000 on a weekend. Wouldn't you want to make that kind of money on a weekend? So I got curious and I broke it down. He only worked 72 days. Don't get me wrong, he put time into it, but everything that he taught them was what his coach, his mentor, Sam, taught him. 72 days, and he made $6 million. Raise your hand if you want to work 72 days and make $6 million. Well, if you want to earn millions of dollars like EA has, who better to help you? EA, he's done it. And that's the kind of coach that I think we all should have, a coach who's done it. Look at Eric, amazing stuff. Why do you think the professional teams want to hire him and work with him? Because he understands, he knows what must be done to get things done. And that's what EA does. He's also the first person who has developed a profit scoring for companies based on what his mentor taught him. He learned also from interviewing 1,000 millionaires, 1,000. So we're going to put up a link for him. I would suggest you book a session with EA. Let me tell you why it's important. He told me he's not going to do this much longer because he is beyond busy, beyond. I'm supposed to have a call with him next week. He said, Raphael, I can't. I am beyond busy. And I understand that. And I value every minute because he pours into me. And sometimes, and I'm a sponge, I got to ring in the middle of him talking. I got to ring myself out and get new information. He is just amazing. Let me introduce you guys to the most amazing person I know, EA. EA, you're going to talk about community. Go for it, my friend.
Thank you, Raphael. Thank you for all those kind words. And I'm so thankful that you reached out to me. You know, we had a great time on your podcast. Coaching Call is an excellent. First, I love the name. I remember when I first saw it, I thought, man, who's this guy? Coaching Call. You know, just, I mean, just so simple. Sometimes, you know, some of the names are so complex and they're over tricky and you got to sort of figure out it's Coaching Call. There it is, right? And we hit it off on the podcast. And I'm so thankful that you swung back around and reached out, and we've been able to do, I think, I don't know, was this like event number 15 or
14?
14. I know we're really close there. So that's awesome. And it's been great because so many excellent speakers and such great content. And thank you for the kind words. That's for sure. And it's such a pleasure to be on Heroes Rising and to work with you, help you, assist you, and be able to share those things that, you know, I was blessed to be able to get from someone so much smarter than me, you know, and you talked about, you know, some of the financial blessings I've had in my life. And I saw my mentor earn $1 million in a day. I saw it, right? So I knew because I saw it that it was possible. Now I have yet to hit that goal. Yet. Notice I emphasized the word yet, but I do know it's possible. And I told him, I said, Sam, I want to earn $1 million, you know, and I was young, I was in my teens, and I, you know, I'm all about the money, right? You're in teens, you're all about the money. And I said, I want to earn $1 million and then I can be happy for the rest of my life, not realizing I had it backwards. First, we should be happy and then the money should be there, not the other way around. So, but even then I had that backwards. And he said, well, I can teach you how to earn $1 million. I said, great. How do I do that? He said, well, the first thing I do is, you got to get $1 million. I said, okay, thanks. Now that you told me that, now what? He said, now I'm going to tell you the hard part. And he always had, as I love to call, the pregnant pause. He would say, I got to tell you the hard part. And then he wouldn't say anything. And for that 5 seconds, it seemed like an hour because he had your total undivided attention. And I said, okay, what's the hard part? He said, the hard part of getting $1 million is believing you can do it. And, I found that to be just true. Most people just don't realize that it's up here and then it manifests itself. And so we're going to chat about a little bit with everyone today is the importance of those people we have around us. Isn't it true that we have businesses opening and closing faster than ever before in history? How many businesses have closed in the last 2 years, right? Unspoken numbers, right? And we have products being antiquated overnight. Someone says, I'm using this platform. And next thing you know, 2 months later, some other platform that makes that one look like it's a dinosaur, right? And here I'm remembering how, thinking to myself, how did I ever get by without a fax machine? So, I'm thinking, wow, this is, how fast it's all happening. Isn't it happening faster and faster? And because of that, when it's all done, don't we have to ask ourselves, what do I have left? And the answer to that question is going to be our relationships. And so we teach at Givers University how to discern those relationships, what these people around us will impact us in profound, unspoken ways. Business, socially, even our family. And no one's teaching us how do you discern or how do you form that group. Years ago, there's a book that came out, and obviously is going to be out for many years, I'm sure. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon does a masterful job talking about something called the mastermind. Now, when he started talking about that, it was new. It was novel. It was something people hadn't heard about. He talks about and does a masterful job explaining what it is. But nowhere in his publications does he say how to do it. How do you form that mastermind? As a result, I've seen many mastermind groups. Maybe you have too. Maybe our listeners and viewers have. You've heard about a group coming together, and then within a couple of months, it just sort of dissipates. Just sort of goes by the wayside. They came together for a good reason, but all of a sudden it just sort of falls apart. And that intrigued us. Why? What's happening with that causes that? They came together, but then why does it dissipate? There's something missing, obviously, right? So we began to delve in, and that brought about then the 7 steps of building your own givers community. First, I want to share with everyone, we've already put it in the comments of the YouTube one time, and we will do it again. Everything I'm about ready to download, and literally is in our YouTube channel. So go to the Givers University YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, obviously. It's on YouTube. And from that, then look at the top playlist, and it's called How to Form Your Own Giver Community. That playlist consists of 21 2-minute clips. The very first 2-minute clip is, what's the difference between a giver community and taker community? How many of you have had this happen? Someone emails you or talks to you and says, join our community, be a part of our community. We're all of the same mind. And then about 6 hours later, they're trying to sell you everything under the sun, right? That's not a giver community. It's a taker community. It's designed to take from you financially, time, morally, whatever the issue is, right? So we help people discern, and then we teach people and help people absolutely free how to form their own community around them. So I'm going to hit the 7 steps real quick, but go to our YouTube channel, watch it for free. The top channel is How to Form Your Own Giver Community. Watch the 21 clips. They're 2 minutes in length, walk you all the way through from the beginning of identifying a giver community, what should be the ingredients in it, and the last 4 episodes are even on the agenda. Once you have your mastermind on steroids formed, if you will, right, your giver community, once you've formed it, now what do you do? What's your agenda? What should it be? What should you be doing at your meetings? So we cover all that. So I'm going to hit it really quick here. And again, for the benefit of everyone, we're able to enjoy the thing called replay. So as I hit this real quick, feel free to enjoy this these 7 steps by watching this again. And also you can see it in a much longer version at our YouTube channel. At YouTube, it's just Givers University, one word, no spaces. Just go to YouTube, type in Givers University, all as though it was one word, and we come right up, right? So this is a few slides. The first slide here is the actual first slide you will see in that playlist. How to build your giver community. We help people identify what's the difference between a giver community and taker community, right? Now, the first thing you do, first of all, there's 7 steps, and the 7 steps spell out the word discern, DISCERN. These are the 7 steps in forming your own giver community. We use the word junto, interplaceable, and to be able to supplant the word community. Junto is a Spanish word, and basically, whenever 2 or more people come together in a meeting format, that is now called a junto. That's another term for it. So when you see us use the word junto, you can use it in place of the word community. So the first step and the first letter in discern is D. All right. So what do? Well, you have to decide, who do you want in your community? You need to decide. How do you do that? Well, Rick's going to be able to share with us a list called the 25 Do's when he speaks, and he'll give you a little bit more insights into how that works. But the first letter is the letter D. You want to decide, who do you want to have in your community? The next is invite. The next letter is I. How do you invite them? What do you say to them? Right? It's very important from the very beginning you set the stage properly. S is C. This is a critical part of forming your giver community. There are certain expectational agreements that each member of your giver community should agree to upfront, that everyone in the community holds themselves accountable to these expectational agreements. Again, elongated channel. The next is the letter C. That stands for convene. Meet on a regular basis. Convene on a regular basis, weekly, every 2 weeks, once a month, once a quarter. Set up a regular time where you're convening with your community on a regular basis. 6 is E, the letter E, DISCE. Discern is the acronym. The letter E stands for establish. Give it a name. Ben Franklin had a junto. He called it the Leather Apron Club. Henry Ford had a junto. He called it the Four Vagabonds. Give your junto or your community a name. That's E is for establish it. Give it a name. Make it real. The next is R, rotate. Have a different chairperson in charge of the meeting every single meeting. Never the same person 2 meetings in a row. Rotate. And the last letter is the letter N. Seed other juntos in other areas, not so you can take from them, but so that you can contribute and help them. N stands for numbers. Seed other and more juntos. And as you go through this, you can learn more by going to our website at giversuniversity.com. We have a newsletter we send out every week, once a week on Thursday. We're not spammers. We don't believe in blowing up a person's mailbox, if you will. And sometimes you subscribe for something and they're sending you 6 emails a day. We don't do that. 1 email a week, Thursday morning, 5-minute reads called the Giver's Toolbox. And every week at Givers University, we send out a new tool that everyone can add into their giver relationship toolbox. 5-minute read, nothing complex. And from that, they learn about Givers University and what we are and who we do and, what we stand up for and, the discerning, and which is such an important part in our relationships. All of our speakers are self-improvement geeks. I'm positive of that. I'm sure many of our listeners are self-improvement geeks, but no one's teaching us, what if the other guy is doing it wrong? What should I do about that? Right? No one's teaching that. And that's where the discernment comes in. And we have the wrong people around us, and it's too late when we finally realize it. And Rick's going to help us on that a little bit as we go forward. So we're going to put in the comments, we're going to put our YouTube channel, but simply it's just Givers University, all one word. Go to YouTube and type that in. It'll come right up. And then our website is giversuniversity.com. Sign up for our free newsletter. All this is free. We're givers. We walk our talk. As we say at Givers University, your talk talks and your walk talks, but your walk talks louder than your talk talks. So we prove that we are givers by giving. And the next time I'm going to share with everyone, I'd love to be able to, he's such an amazing man. And I have to say, I have a last name that's pretty long, 1 consonants, 40 vowels, or the other round, 1 vowel and 40 consonants, something like that. A lot of letters in my last name, right? Well, I have to say, this gentleman has a lot of letters after his last name, right? And I think if you did like a cumulative total, he has me one hands down with all the letters that are after. I think it might be a paragraph. I don't know. It seems like a lot. Let me tell you a little bit about the amazing Richard Hughes. Known him for some time, and I guess a decade now. And he's going to share with us a little bit about what we call the 25 do's. He is the president of Magna HR. When I tell you a little bit about his HR background, it's mind-boggling. His experience, expertise, and the certifications he has received. And he is also the executive vice president of Givers University. So you're going to learn a lot of references that he has as a result. And he's going to talk about, remember I said in the first letter of discern with forming your giver community, the first letter was D, which stands for decide. How do you decide who to have with your community? And that comes from a list that we call the 25 do's or the 25 virtues or the 25 deeds. And Rick is going to touch on a few of those with everyone and share with you how he adapts those even into the HR world to help in his discernment. A quick background on Rick. And then when I say it's quick, this is the Reader's Digest condensed version. First of all, he's an accomplished senior executive, that's for sure. Domestic and global, vast experience on an international level. Clients that he's worked with, small as 10 people, as large as 10,000 employees in the company. His experience, check this out. His disciplines include benefits, compensation, employee and labor relations, payroll taxes, recruiting, staffing, employee training, and leadership development and strategic planning. And that's why he's in demand in the HR world, if you will, because he literally sets up and becomes a company's HR department between himself and his resources. And here's the part that's really amazing. He has earned not only his bachelor's, but his master's degree. And his professional certifications are from IFEBP, which is the International Foundation of Employee Benefits, and also his advanced certification with SHRM, SHRM, which is basically a Society for Human Resource Management. Vast background, vast experience. And one of the things that Rick has noted is that this was a great way, the 25 do's was a great way for him to discern from an HR perspective, employees with companies that should and shouldn't be hired, people that are being managed within the company by watching and observing the things they're doing. And Rick is just an amazing leader and a close, great friend. And I'd like to share his experience with you and have him sort of take the virtual mic, if you will, and share with our listeners the great Rick Hughes.
Okay, there it goes. Can you hear me? All right, there it is. Hey, EA, thanks for that great introduction. And as EA said, I've known him for about 10 years now. And it's been a great relationship because as he alluded to in his discussion, he has actually become my mentor, as Sam Robbins was his mentor for a number of years. And we met again about 10 years ago. And but by the time I met him, he had already begun to draft the Gift to Be Great series, which is a series of 3 books and courses that basically allow you to become a life of predictive, massive, and exceptional happiness, freedom, and greatness. And in the HR world, that's where we see a lot of the problems in what I'll call toxic employees, is that you find out at the end of the day is they're just not happy. So in today's session, I think Raphael had put them up as the 25 virtues, but as we call them, the 25 do's. And there at 25 is just too many, as Eric found out. You have an hour-long presentation, you have to cut it down into 10 to 15 minutes. So I went through a few of them and picked out my highlights and the ones that I like to refer to most in my HR practice. And but these are available, as EA said, to download at giversuniversity.com, and click on the big orange button that says join now. It's free, and you'll be on our mailing list. And one of the things that you'll get is these 25 do's. So our first one, and the top number 1 do, is be willing to do the thing to get the thing. Now, in today's world, more people are familiar with the saying, Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And in our HR practice, we do see that do number one play out every day. Bad employees and bad managers keep doing the same things over and over again. And then they wonder why they're not happy at work, not happy at home, not getting the promotions that they feel that they deserve. But they're doing the same things over and over again, and they're the wrong things. And many employees, or most employees that are discipline problems, have a history of non-productive and even destructive behaviors. In other words, they keep doing the same things over and over again, getting the same results, which they don't want and they don't like. And then they wonder why they're not happy, productive, and ultimately, unfortunately, that's where we come in, they end up unemployed. So do number 5, the next one on my list, is enjoy investing in relationships. In today's social media obsessed world, people often confuse a Facebook friend, a LinkedIn connection, or a Twitter post with a real relationship. And they're not. In order to have real, meaningful, and long-lasting relationships, people have to meet and develop a personal relationship with each other. If you're shy or uncomfortable, you need to get outside your comfort zone and learn to develop the social skills necessary to step outside and overcome your discomfort. Attend church, volunteer to help others, join an organization in your own community. As EA said earlier, while companies are coming and going faster than ever before, the only real lasting or long-lasting parts of our lives are the relationships that we've nurtured and cherished over a long period of time. These are the people that are going to be there for you, to encourage you, to support you, and to be there in both good times and bad. Do number 10, the third one on my list. What is your personal reason why? Do you have a personal reason why? At Givers University, we believe that you should get into a good Bible-based church and keep God in first place. And in the first book of the Give to Be Great series called The Giver's Mindset, EA talks about your top 5 list. And it really only works in one order. Number 1, intelligent design, or also known as the creator or God. Number 2, family. Number 3, country. Number 4, business. And way down at number 5 is yourself. In today's world, many people have their priority list in the wrong order. And some of them even have themselves in number 1, top spot. In HR, I tend to find that these end up being the toxic employees that nobody wants to be around and nobody wants to work with. And others don't even have God in the top 5 list, let alone at the top of the list. By having a personal reason why and having them in the right order, everything else falls neatly into place. The next one, do number 16. So I'm working my way through the 25. Be willing to change the premise of your thought process. We all have disagreements and various issues in business, in social, even at family gatherings. Sometimes the worst ones are at family gatherings. And in business, both managers, employees need to listen and understand the premise of the other person's position or argument. Once all the facts are known, the right answer is usually right in front of you. And at that point, both parties, as long as they're agreeable, they should be able to reach an agreement and move forward. They don't have to continue walking down the path of, I was right, you were wrong. They can admit they were wrong and move forward. And that brings me to the 5th one, do number 21, be personally accountable. What is personal accountability? I've spent some time researching personal accountability, and I finally found a definition that I really liked. And it's according to Mind by Design, which was their website, personal accountability is taking full responsibility for your life, your choice to stop blaming others or circumstances, and learning how to overcome all obstacles that are holding you back from success. It means that you understand that you are in charge of your own destiny. When we exhibit personal accountability, we're making the decision to get rid of excuses and to be productive in improving ourselves and our lives. And it's not easy, but it is the key to self-improvement. And in our HR practice, we often see do number 21, be personally accountable, when our client asks us to help with an employee relations issue. Most times the employee is pointing the finger in quotes, blaming others, and for their own failures, not for anybody else's, but for their own failures, when it would have been much better for them to simply say, hey, I was wrong, I learned from my mistake, and it won't happen again. If they simply uttered those words at the beginning, the issue would have disappeared and the company wouldn't have even needed to engage us. As I said earlier, there are 25 virtues or 25 do's that are available to download for free at giversuniversity.com by clicking the big orange button that says join now, it's free. And as we like to say at Givers University, have your best day ever. Raphael, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. I love the 25 virtues, the do's. If we live by those virtues, it will change our lives, won't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I can interject there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I think, Rick brought out such a great point right at the conclusion there that, so many people just have a problem uttering those simple words he said. And it's so self-sabotaging, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. I mean, you can go through the whole list, just not being able to say, I made a mistake, I screwed up, it won't happen again. I mean, that's, just so simple, couple of sentences, and how people will go through huge gyrations to avoid saying those simple things because they don't want to look bad, when they realize everyone knows anyway. Everyone already knows. Are you trying to convince yourself? Because everyone else already knows by watching. Everyone knows, right? Such great information from Rick. You can tell he's really, he has seen a lot when it gets to employees and, the ins and outs, if you will, of, from human resources, which has become more complex as he shares with me some of the things he puts up with on a daily basis that are, you're not even able to imagine how incredible, not only the complexity, but sometimes lunacy, of what is happening in the HR world, if you will, just because, people aren't able to just say, hey, I goofed up and, it's not going to happen again, and not having their priorities in order. So thank you, Rick. Great information.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Raphael, it gives me an opportunity to bring up our, the founder of Heroes Rising. That's right. It's Raphael. And he told me, I said, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this thing. I want to do these events, and would you co-host with me? And I said, man, I'd love to. It'd be my honor. I'd love to do it. And since then, I've learned to what great extent. And, one of the things that I really appreciate about him is something my mentor shared with me, but I can see it in Raphael. He said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Don't be in that room. There's nothing to learn there. See, when everyone else today is so interested in being preeminent and the smartest person in the room and having everyone look at them, and that's backwards. It's backwards because everyone's trying to do the same thing, right? And here's Raphael traveling all over the country, even though he's been training martial arts for decades. He still travels to literally cross country. And if you don't believe me, look at his posts on LinkedIn. You're going to see him there working out every single day, and whether it's in Florida or California or Texas or wherever he happens to be in any one state at any one time, not only his ongoing commitment for working out, and you can see his workouts every morning, but also, as he posts them, but also his commitment for learning for himself. Now, how does that reflect on him? Shows he's a leader, right? That's what leadership's about, constantly growing. It's interesting that life is not static. There is no moment where everything stops. If we slow down or stop, what happens is the rest of the world goes by. It's not going to stop for us. So Raphael always wants to stay in front. And because of that, he's constantly learning. When opportunities come up to learn, when opportunities come to learn from other people who have maybe built larger martial arts studios than his, or maybe the same size, but are doing something a little bit different. And he knows he can learn and borrow that idea and learn from them and learn from them. And he can apply that with what he's doing. That's what leaders do. They're constantly bettering their best. And certainly that's what Raphael does. And if you watch his posts every morning, it's great. He does these great workouts. They're like, I think always 10 minutes or less. And, he'll say 3 exercises in 8 minutes and 4 exercises in 7 minutes, and he does the exercises right there, as opposed to just say, go ahead and do this, and I even shared with him a video that I saw of, someone was doing like 5-minute exercises, but it was all animated, right? And it's a little bit different when you're watching a person live do it, right? First of all, you're seeing their commitment. There's Raphael doing it every single. What day are you at, Raphael? It's got to be like 125 or 130 somewhere in there, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, today's 125.
125.
So 126, one of those.
Yeah, right. Every single day he posts it. And what he's going to cover today is classic, because he's the example. You want to learn? Talk to someone who's done it. Don't look out for an educated idiot, someone that's read it in a book and can spew it all back at you, but have never done it themselves. Raphael knows what it's like to work out every day. He knows how to do all these exercises. He knows his commitment. So he's going to cover today such a great topic, and in a matter of 4 words, now is the time. And that's what he's going to cover, that now is the time. And excellent, great friend, great leader, truly a giver, and cares about people. Raphael, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah. And when I say now is the time, not for hackers who are.
Yeah, I know. They were trying, weren't they? They were trying. Them. We beat him. Conquered.
Right. So
I will overcome.
Not for them. So, now's the time. Today is the perfect time. Now is the perfect time. Change comes from believing. You have to believe in who? In yourself, right? But you also have to follow people who know what they're doing. Like Eric is a great example. I mean, the guy is just genius, right? But you need effort, and you need to find your way to move forward. You need to put the effort into it. Without effort, you're fooling yourself, right? If you say, I'm going to wake up every day at 4 a.m., meanwhile, you normally wake up at 7 or 8, putting your alarm for 4 a.m. is not the right thing to do. You do it incrementally. So maybe I wake up every day at 8. So maybe tomorrow I'll wake up at 7:50 or 7:45. And then I do that for a week. And then I all the way until I get to my goal. But we don't set our goals to achieve immediately, because it's not a goal. It's something that you can do in a split second. Is not a goal. It's just something you can do. A goal is something you have to achieve and strive to do. So once you start moving, continue to move, right? You have to invest daily in order to grow, in order to achieve that goal. Listen, and Eric showed us a professional athlete that he was training and how he had to assess the type of workout he was going to give him. He didn't just say, yeah, let's go, let's do this. No, because he would be hurting him. He's not going to give him the optimal training that he needs. So we need to assess ourselves. And Eric even told you how you can do this every day. And if you want to learn how, reach out to Eric, reach out to me, reach out to a professional that's going to help you attain those goals. Listen, you can start now, start from scratch. You don't have to wait to be in shape to get a trainer. The first thing you have to do, and he talked about DoorDash. I love that. Yeah, you get up to answer the door for DoorDash. No, make the food yourself. You don't know what goes into the food that someone else makes. You don't know how to cook? Start slow. Learn to boil water, one thing at a time. Then maybe you boil some vegetables or do something, steam vegetables, right? Here's what you need to do it now. You need to take your life and break it apart, bit by bit, and then put it back together into the life you want to have. Have a desired change in mind. Be aware that there is fear associated with change. There always is, there always will be, unless you get rid of that fear. You can get rid of the fear because you are the one that put the stoppage. You blocked, you made a concrete wall and it has fear. Everything behind that wall, I can't do, I'm not able to. That's nonsense. You can do it. Focus one thing at a time and you will succeed at that one thing. One thing, that's all I ask. One thing at a time. You know, it's time to step up to the plate, right? He had a pitcher that he was training. Guess what? He faces people who step up to the plate every time. And he has to make that decision. What kind of pitch am I going to give him? Right? Because if he knows that guy's he's great at hitting fastballs. Do I want to throw him a fastball? No. So he has to assess the situation. You have to do that for yourself. You have to do everything that is worth your while. You have to believe in you, but you have to take your life apart. You have to ask yourself the tough questions. Here's what I like to do, right? Let's say you sit down, right, at dinner, even if it came from DoorDash, and ask yourself these questions, or better yet, ask your food this question. Are you good for me? What are you going to do to my body? How are you going to change me? How am I going to feel tomorrow after I eat you? Ask that to the food. The food's not going to answer you back, but your mind will. You have to be honest with yourself. Listen, get in the game. Stop watching your life pass by. You have to play the game of life. What are you willing to give up to live your best life ever? Are you willing to give up that pizza, that fried food? Are you willing to give up those things that are going to help you live your best life? Are you willing to do that so that you can achieve the goals? Here's one thing, right? I like to call it YOLO. You only live once. YOLO, YOLO. You only live once. Make it amazing, right? Listen, where you are on your journey is not as important as to where you are in your journey. Whether you start today or you started yesterday, you started a year ago. Sometimes some people fall off track and they go, I can't do this. It's too hard. You put that roadblock in the way. Are you ready to answer the call? Are you ready to take your life to the next level? Are you ready to get someone on your team? Listen, Eric had a professional baseball player who came to him. Eric is on that guy's team. Why is he on his team? Because he's going to help him be the best he can be at his trade. I do that for me. You need to do that for yourself. It's very easy to lose your weight. When temptation shows up, man, it's okay. Everybody's eating cookies. Everybody's having ice cream. We're all going out for ice cream. You can go out to ice cream with everybody. That doesn't mean you have to order ice cream. Mm-hmm. You can get a water. You can get something else. And if you need to, can you be strong enough to just have one scoop of ice cream and then leave it alone? And that is determination to your willpower. Temptation is going to show up. You have to have faith in yourself and take the best action so you can be the best version of yourself. You are worth more, my friend. And everybody on this panel is just beyond amazing. I am so thrilled to have every one of these amazing human beings. And for me to be able to call them my friends, my associates, people that I can actually call and say, you know, I know if I need to call Eric and say, hey, Eric, you know, I want to do this exercise. What do you think I should do first? I know Eric's going to go, well, do this, do that, do that. I know that. And I work out every day. That doesn't mean that I cannot call on Eric for his expertise. That doesn't mean I cannot call on EA and say, EA, I'm having issues with this business situation that he can't tell me, well, have you thought of it this way? And it doesn't mean that if I'm hiring somebody, I cannot call Rick, which we call, and say, hey, you know, I need to hire somebody. What do you think my best idea should be? And I know he's going to be there and help me out. We're a community, and EA talked about that. Build a community worth being in. If you're not part of a community you can be in, then build your own. Call us. We'll come give you a hand as well. EA, what can I tell you? I mean, great stuff for everybody. We have some great speakers coming up in our next session, and I know EA is going to tell you all about them.
We do. On May 27th, which is also a Friday. The Heroes events are on Fridays. May 27th, we have J.M. Ryerson, and he is going to discuss Let's Go Win at Leadership. It's way better to win at leadership than to lose, right? Givers gain, takers lose, right? So JM's going to talk about that. We look forward to that. And also Michael Woodell is going to have a great topic, which is interesting for anyone that, has a side hustle or side business or a business, if you will. Michael's going to talk about the 3 biggest lead generation mistakes and how to avoid those 3 biggest mistakes. And I will be with you on the 27th on Spirit. Rick Hughes, the amazing Rick Hughes, who you heard today as a speaker, is going to be filling in for me on the 27th. And I appreciate him filling in for me. And I look forward to catching that event on the replay for sure. And thank you so much, Raphael, for, first of all, deciding to even do the Heroes events. I know for a fact, just from feedback from others, there's been so many that have benefited from the speakers you've brought forth and the information. And Eric, thank you so much for just downloading such great physical information that encompasses all parts of our being, if you will, in such a short period of time that people can refer back to. And of course, Rick, the HR guru, if you will, to say the least. And what a wonderful person he is, not only being 1,000% true giver, and I mean a true giver, but he walks his talk, and anyone ever has the opportunity to shake Rick's hand is going to know that very quickly. So thank you so much for having me on. Certainly a blessing, that's for sure. And for all of our listeners, check this. And there's a lot of information in 60 minutes here. So, there's nothing wrong with using the advantages of YouTube and watching it a few times. And get out a notepad and write down some thoughts, because what's interesting is that you never know how something's going to spark something else.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
You can hear something and all of a sudden you go, wait, you know what? And then I could do this and I could do that. And next thing you know, you're in the direction of solutions, if you will, which is where we want to be. So Raphael, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing such great words of wisdom for everyone. And there will never be a better time than now. That's for sure. Now is certainly the time. Thank you, Raphael.
Oh, my pleasure. I asked everybody to unmic because I'd love to get a little bit of feedback, even from Eric and obviously from Richard. What are your thoughts, guys? And a word of advice you can give to anybody listening. Go for it, Eric.
All right, I'll jump in. Thank you for putting this together, and thank you for this, Raphael, and for you guys for your insight and wisdom today. Kind of dovetailing some of the stuff that the other guys were talking about in terms of personal responsibility. And really what you're looking to do is establish habits. And we have a slide that's in our presentation saying that getting people to understand that getting in shape is an everyday decision. And what I coach people to do, and getting better is not something that you can do like buying a laptop or a TV or a new car, is that you have to decide every day to do this. And so making those decisions comes down to things like your why, comes down to where is it ultimately you want to be, and understanding that. And so establishing those habits one at a time, and then starting to stack those habits is what ultimately is going to get you there.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Mhm.
Richard, your thoughts?
Well, thank you, both of you, for hosting. And remember, I only had time to go through 5 out of the 25 do's. And so I highly suggest that you visit the website, download the entire series, and see what the other 20 do's are, because they're all worthwhile. I just picked the ones that have helped me and the HR community the most. But there are others that are just as valuable. So I highly recommend the download. And again, thank you both. Eric, was great to meet you. And I look forward to co-hosting with you in a couple of weeks.
That's going to be so much fun, right?
Yes.
You know, I can only tell everybody who is listening that the only reason I brought this forward is because I have surrounded myself with amazing people. And, you know, one of the things that if you hold on to things, you can only share them with yourself, right? But when you start to share them with the world, man, the opportunities just open up. Share as much as you can, people. Be a giver. Like, you know, these guys have Givers University. I mean, they have it down to a science. And I am just a novice in this, right? I try to give as much as I can, but this is why I brought Heroes Rising, to be able to bring all these amazing people to everyone, to share everybody's knowledge. And thank you so much, Eric, Richard, EA, for sharing your knowledge today. And I look forward to also having you guys when we do the live event. I definitely want to have you guys there. And I think we're looking probably in October. Is that correct, EA?
That's about right. Looking forward to it. It's going to be great. You know, things are normalizing now. A lot more, you know, eye to eye, hand to hand kinds of meetings, and group meetings are coming back. And so, you know, I think October is going to be a great time, an exciting time, and really looking forward to it. A lot of great information, helping a lot of great people. Great opportunity to give.
Absolutely. So, everybody, thank you so much. EA, take it away.
Well, I will finish real quickly with a favorite poem that every couple of events I like to say. And I memorized it because it has such an impact on my life when I first heard it. And it goes just like this. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer. It'll give you what you ask. But once you've set the wages, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn, dismayed, that any wage I would have asked of life, life would have willingly paid. Have your best day ever.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Have a blast, everybody. I'm trying to shut this off. All right. Well, there's always a good way to shut stuff down. And you guys.
I'm still here. Should I shut off or?
Yeah, you know what? Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. I look forward to us sharing the stage again.
And I'll miss you on Wednesday since EA canceled on us. So I'll see you. I'll talk to you again in another, week and a half.
Yeah, maybe we'll just hang out together.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Enjoy.
See you, buddy. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.